Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's somber episode. We're heartbroken to share the sad news of extraordinary American legends who passed away in the last 24 hours on May 23, 2025. Today, we pay tribute to their incredible legacies and the impact they left on our world. Join us as we honor their contributions. If this resonates with you, please like, support, and subscribe to our channel for more heartfelt tributes. Let's remember these icons together. Alasdair MacIntyre. What if the way we argue about right and wrong is completely broken? Decades ago, one thinker warned that our moral debates were heading toward chaos, and his name was Alasdair MacIntyre. A Scottish-born philosopher, who died in 2025 at 96, MacIntyre spent his life challenging the way we think about ethics. His ideas, especially in his groundbreaking book After Virtue, shook up philosophy and still spark heated debates today. So, who was this man, and why are people still talking about him? Let's dive in. Born in Glasgow in 1929, MacIntyre wasn't just another academic. He lived a life as complex as his ideas, moving from Scotland to America, teaching at places like Notre Dame, and marrying 3 times, first to Anne Peary, then poet Susan Willens, and finally philosopher Lynn Joy, who shared his academic world until his death. He wasn't just a thinker, he was a man who evolved, starting as a Marxist, then embracing Aristotle's ancient wisdom. That shift alone made waves, but it was his take on morality that really got people talking. Here's the problem MacIntyre saw: today's moral arguments are a mess. Think about it, whether it's online debates about politics, or heated family arguments, everyone seems to talk past each other. MacIntyre said this chaos comes from a disorder in our moral language. We all use words like right and wrong, but they mean different things depending on who's talking. He argued this wasn't just a modern quirk, it's a deep flaw in how we approach ethics. And what caused it? A big idea from centuries ago that's still tripping us up. That idea was the Enlightenment's obsession with universal reason. Back in the 1700s, thinkers like Kant believed pure reason could solve all moral questions, no matter who you were or where you came from. MacIntyre called this a fantasy. He said moral judgments aren't just logic. They are tied to feelings, traditions, and cultures. Trying to strip morality down to cold, hard reason. It's like trying to navigate a storm with a broken compass. Philosophers like Nietzsche and Sartre had already questioned this, but MacIntyre took it further, saying reason itself depends on the traditions we're born into. And that idea didn't sit well with everyone. So, what was MacIntyre's fix? He pointed to traditions, cultural, religious, or communal, as the real foundation for morality. Forget universal rules that apply to everyone. MacIntyre believed we find meaning in the stories and values of our communities. His book After Virtue pushed for return to virtue ethics, an ancient idea from Aristotle that says being good means living well within your community's values. It's why he's a hero in communitarian philosophy, but it also put him at odds with a world obsessed with individual freedom. And that's where the real fight started. MacIntyre's ideas weren't just academic, they were a direct challenge to modern liberalism. Critics in universities called him nostalgic, saying his love for tradition ignored progress and individual rights. Some even whispered he was too cozy with religious ideas, given his interest in theology. But MacIntyre didn't budge. He argued that even the most die-hard liberal, who rejects tyranny of tradition, is just following another tradition without realizing it. This clash made him a polarizing figure, with fans praising his clarity and critics slamming him for looking backward. But there's more to his story than academic spats. What many don't know is how MacIntyre's work quietly shaped fields beyond philosophy. His ideas influenced theological debates, offering a framework for thinking about faith in a fractured world. Recently, posts on X have buzzed with speculation that After Virtue could be a guide for navigating today's cultural divides. Fans online say his warnings about moral chaos predicted our polarized times, with some claiming his focus on community could even solve conflicts we see today. Of course, these are just rumors, but they show how his ideas keep sparking curiosity years after he wrote them. Through it all, MacIntyre was a fighter. He didn't just stick to one path. He moved from Marxism to Aristotelianism, even when it cost him allies. He faced down critics who called his work outdated, and he kept writing, teaching, and challenging the status quo until his death in 2025. His personal life, with 3 marriages and 4 children, showed a man who lived through change and complexity, much like the ideas he championed. So, what's Alasdair MacIntyre's legacy? He showed us that our moral debates are broken because we've forgotten where our values come from. He didn't just critique, he offered a way forward, rooted in the traditions that shape us. As we face a world more divided than ever, his ideas beg a question: could looking to our shared stories, rather than endless arguments, be the key to fixing our moral mess? Let that sink in, and maybe MacIntyre's work will spark something new for you. Morten Steenstrup. What happens when a man who shaped Norway's political and legal world quietly steps into the shadows, only to leave us wondering what might have been? Morten Steenstrup, a powerhouse in Norwegian politics and law, passed away on May 22, 2025, at 72, after a battle with cancer that few saw coming. His life was a whirlwind of ambition, influence, and quiet resilience, but there's so much more to his story than the headlines reveal. Let's dive into the journey of a man who left an indelible mark on Norway, from the halls of the Storting to the boardrooms of Oslo, and uncover the whispers surrounding his final years. Morten Steenstrup wasn't just born into ambition, he built it from the ground up. Born in 1953, he was already making waves as a young scholar at the University of Oslo, earning a master's in political science and sociology by 1976, followed by a law degree in 1980. But he wasn't content with just studying politics, he wanted to shape them. By his early 20s, he was already a member of the Tønsberg City Council, chairing meetings with a confidence that turned heads. What was it about this small-town prodigy that set him on a path to Norway's political elite? His early years hinted at a drive that would define his life, pulling him toward the national stage faster than anyone expected. By 1981, at just 28, Steenstrup was elected to the Storting, representing Vestfold for the Conservative Party. He didn't just sit quietly, he tackled big issues, serving on the Justice Committee before moving to the Finance Committee, where his sharp mind for policy shone. In 1985, he stepped into an even bigger role as State Secretary under Prime Minister Geir Willoch and Finance Minister Rolf Presthus, helping steer Norway through a turbulent economic period. But when Willoch's government fell in 1986, Steenstrup's time in the spotlight paused. His exit from the Storting in 1989 wasn't a retreat, it was a pivot to something bigger. What drove him to leave politics at the height of his influence? The answer lies in the empire he built next. Leaving the Storting didn't mean leaving power. In 1989, Steenstrup founded his own law firm, a bold move that would cement his legacy in Norway's legal world. By 1993, he was admitted to the Supreme Court, a rare achievement that showcased his legal prowess. His firm grew when former MP Bjørn Stordrange joined in 1999, eventually becoming Sands, a name synonymous with elite legal work in Oslo. Beyond law, Steenstrup and his wife, Kari Vold Hansen Steenstrup, built the Herfel Group, a key player in Norway's building materials trade through the Byggmaker chain. But whispers in Oslo's business circles suggested his success wasn't just about law and commerce. Some said his political connections gave him an edge. Could his legal empire have been a springboard for something more? Fast forward to 2015, and Steenstrup was back in politics, serving on the Oslo City Council until 2019. Then, in 2022, he took the reins as leader of the Oslo Conservative Party, a move that stunned many. At 69, why return to the political fray? Some speculated it was a chance to cement his legacy, while others whispered about unfinished business from his starting days. His leadership came at a time of heated debates over Norway's EU ties and economic policies, issues that echoed his earlier career. But behind the scenes, something else was brewing, something Steenstrup kept tightly under wraps. What was it that pulled him back into the spotlight, and what was he hiding? The truth emerged on May 22, 2025, when Steenstrup's family announced his passing at his Nordstrand home in Oslo. He'd been battling cancer, a fight he kept private until the end. Posts on X lit up with tributes, but also questions. How long had he been ill, and did it affect his leadership? Rumors swirled that his health had slowed his political plans, with some saying he was gearing up for a bigger role before his diagnosis. His silence on the matter only fueled speculation. Was it pride, privacy, or something deeper that kept him from sharing his struggle? His choice to stay quiet paints a picture of a man who valued control, even in his final days. Steenstrup's legacy is undeniable. He shaped Norway's political landscape during a pivotal era, helped build a legal powerhouse, and influenced business through the Herfel Group. Unlike some politicians, he avoided major scandals, though his era's debates over EU membership and economic reforms sparked plenty of controversy. Some say his moderate stance as a conservative made him a bridge builder, while others argue he played it too safe. What might he have achieved if cancer hadn't cut his story short? His death left Norway reflecting on a leader who balanced power with discretion, leaving us to wonder about the roads not taken. On a personal note, Steenstrup's life wasn't just about power plays. He shared it with his wife, Kari, who stood by him in business and life. Together, they built more than just a company, they created a family legacy, though details about their private life remained closely guarded. His family's heartfelt announcement after his passing spoke of a man cherished as a father, grandfather, and brother. Some say his private nature hid a warmth that only those closest to him saw. Could there be untold stories about the man behind the politician, waiting to be uncovered? Morten Steenstrup's story is one of ambition, reinvention, and quiet strength. From a young councillor in Tønsberg to a titan of Norwegian law and politics, he left a legacy that's both celebrated and mysterious. His battle with cancer, kept out of the public eye, only adds to the intrigue. As Norway mourns, we're left asking, what does it take to shape a nation, and what do we lose when a leader like Steenstrup leaves us too soon? Share your thoughts in the comments. Did you know about his impact? Or is there more to his story we should explore? Hugo Fernández Faingold. What does it take to be a politician who truly serves their country? Not fame, not wealth, but a relentless drive to make things right. Meet Hugo Fernández Faingold, a man who rose from Montevideo's streets to become Uruguay's vice president, a diplomat who saved a nation in crisis, and a leader whose legacy still resonates. His story isn't one of flashy headlines, but of quiet, unshakable commitment. Let's dive into the life of a man who shaped Uruguay's future, one principled step at a time. Born in Montevideo in 1947, Hugo Fernández Faingold grew up in a city buzzing with political change. His father, a respected professor, instilled in him a love for learning and justice. Hugo studied in Uruguay and abroad, sharpening his mind for the challenges ahead. But he wasn't just an academic, he was a man ready to act. By the time Uruguay's dictatorship ended in 1985, Hugo was poised to leave his mark. And what came next would set the tone for his entire career. In 1985, President Julio Maria Sanguinetti tapped Hugo to serve as Minister of Labor. Uruguay was healing from years of authoritarian rule, and workers' rights were in shambles. Hugo didn't just sit behind a desk. He rolled up his sleeves and brought back the wage councils, a system that gave workers a voice after 15 years of silence. His efforts helped rebuild trust between the government and the people, a move that still echoes in Uruguay's labor policies today. But Hugo's ambitions were just getting started. By 1989, Hugo threw his hat into the ring for the presidency, aligning with Sanguinetti's vision within the Colorado Party. It was a bold move, but the odds weren't in his favor. Jorge Bortel, a political heavyweight, swept the internal elections, leaving Hugo with a modest share of votes. Did that stop him? Not at all. He took the loss in stride, proving his resilience. And what happened next would show just how far determination could take him. In 1994, Hugo won a seat in the Senate, representing the Batlista Forum, a faction known for its progressive ideals. He wasn't chasing headlines, he was building a reputation as a steady, principled voice. For 4 years, he tackled issues head-on, earning respect across party lines. But fate had bigger plans. In 1998, tragedy struck when Vice President Hugo Batalla passed away. Suddenly, Hugo Fernández Faingold was thrust into the vice presidency, a role he never expected. And what he did with it would surprise everyone. Stepping into the vice presidency, Hugo faced a nation on edge. Uruguay was grappling with economic uncertainty, and political stability was fragile. He didn't falter. From 1998 to 2000, he served under Sanguinetti, bringing calm and focus to a turbulent time. His ability to bridge divides and keep the government steady earned him quiet admiration. But his biggest test was yet to come, and it would unfold far from Uruguay's borders. In 2000, Hugo left the Senate to become Uruguay's ambassador to the United States. 2 years later, Uruguay faced its worst financial crisis in decades. Banks were collapsing, and panic was spreading. Hugo, stationed in Washington, became a key player in negotiations with international powers. His diplomatic skill helped secure support that allowed Uruguay's banks to reopen, saving the economy from total collapse. It's a story few know, but it cemented his legacy as a behind-the-scenes hero. And yet, there's more to this man's impact. On May 22, 2025, Hugo Fernández Faingold passed away, at 78. Tributes poured in from across Uruguay. Former President Sanguinetti called him an extraordinary servant of the Republic, while others praised his role in the 1987 FNC strike, where he defended workers' rights with unflinching fairness. Posts on X hailed him as a batlista of integrity, a man who never sought the spotlight, but always delivered. His death marked the end of a chapter, but his contributions, wage councils, crisis diplomacy, a steady hand in politics, still shape Uruguay today. Hugo Fernández Faingold wasn't a politician who chased glory. He was a man who showed up, did the work, and left Uruguay stronger. From labor reforms to saving a nation in crisis, his life reminds us that true leadership isn't about loud promises, it's about quiet results. So, what does it mean to serve? Maybe it's time we look to people like Hugo, whose actions spoke louder than words. What do you think? Could today's leaders learn from his example?